Okay, good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. This morning, I'm very pleased to have with me as my guest Aaron Marienthal, who's a partner at McGuireWoods. Aaron, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So, Aaron, let me start by asking you. You were obviously in private practice for many years in your career, and you went in house to become the general counsel of a company. Maybe tell me a little about how that opportunity came to you. Was it a client? How did that opportunity present itself?
Yeah, so PayActive was a great client of mine and a partner of mine at McGuireWoods back starting in 2018, and we did a bunch of work for PayActive. At the time, they did not have an in-house legal department. Everything was being done effectively by their chief operations officer, who became my boss at a later time. And had a need for a GC. My boss and mentor, David Reedy, decided in 2019 that he was going to take the GC job after trying a little bit unsuccessfully to find a good candidate for the GC spot, and then decided he would do it himself. He asked me to come along with him as part of his effort to build a legal team, and I was at the time a ninth year associate, senior associate, kind of on the precipice of making partner, and but I was also about to have my second kid, and this was pre-COVID, so of course I didn't know COVID was going to hit, but ultimately, of course, decided to join him in early 2020, weeks before COVID hit.
Wow.
And ultimately, we had a great run. He lasted about a year and a half, and then I took over in 2021.
Yeah, interesting. Well, was being a general counsel or going in house, was that always a career goal or what?
No, it hadn't been something that I was necessarily aspiring to do. I mean, I had been, I think with an exception of a couple of years, been in big law my whole career, and was certainly on the partner track. So it wasn't something I expected to do necessarily.
What about the opportunity attracted you, or what made you decide to do it?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. Of course, it's the old adage that you're happiest with people that when you work with people that you love and respect. And Reedy and I we're and are close friends, and the opportunity to work closely with him building something new was super intriguing. PayActive, if you don't, if you're not familiar with the company, is a very innovative financial technology solution. At the time was a product that a lot of people hadn't heard of, but it was certainly cutting edge in terms of not only a financial innovation, but also a legal. It stood in a legal gray area, and something that provided an opportunity to really get regulatory clarity for the industry. And so it was a challenge that I thought would be really fun to work on, especially with somebody that I respected.
Was it a tough decision, or it seemed like a pretty compelling opportunity?
It was a tough decision. I mean, for a lot of different reasons, primarily knowing that, had I stayed, I would have likely made partner, the following year. Obviously there's a pay cut involved usually in going in-house, and certainly that was the case for me. On the other hand, I had family to think about. Having two little kids at home was a driving factor as well. So it was not. I don't think it was an easy decision at all, but it's certainly one I'm glad I made.
Yeah. Well, tell me, how did it compare with being in private practice? I mean, did you like it more? Did you like it as much? Was it less work, more work? I mean, how was it different?
Yeah, it's different in so many ways. Of course, there's the easy stuff that folks would imagine. You don't have to bill hours, which is for any lawyer who is experienced at that lifestyle knows that billing your increments can get tedious and difficult at times. And I think there's certainly more flexibility sometimes with workload at an in-house position. There's always enough work, but you have a little bit more flexibility in how you do it and what you prioritize. We were drinking from a fire hose from from the day we got there. There's always things to do. There's things to perfect. And I'd say on the other hand, we had a lot of flexibility in figuring out what it was we wanted to tackle.
Mm.
And so that was fun in the sense that we had a lot of control over that. You're obviously reporting to one client versus, dozens or hundreds. And so, it felt a little bit more streamlined as far as that's concerned and having more control over it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it operates like a startup. There's a lot of, instead of trying to move a big ship, you could get things done, with little red tape, which is really nice. But there's also the roller coaster ride of working at a startup, and there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of fires to put out. And so it's a whole lot different, especially when, you're coming from a place that runs, like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, a lot of lawyers who go in-house, one of the things they really like or are attracted to is, kind of really working more closely with the business, maybe even doing the business part of it. How did that appeal to you, or what did you think?
Yeah, at first, it wasn't something that was totally on my radar as a driving factor in my decision. But, when I took over the GC role in, I think it was June of 21, I got to sit on the executive management team, comprised of a diverse group of really smart people.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of those is the CFO, one of those is the CEO, one of those is the COO. We had a chief growth officer, HR, of course, and in sales. And so getting to see the different perspectives and really what was driving the business was incredibly valuable, I think, from a lawyer's standpoint, because it helps you see around corners. It helps you understand what's truly impactful and important to the business, and really cut through a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm. Were you pretty involved in a lot of the business aspects in terms of driving deals, or I don't know, leading the pathway for the business, or what would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, my focus certainly, when it came to financial related, discussions and decisions, that's certainly something our CFO is more than capable of driving. I was more focused on regulatory clarity, regulatory activity, government affairs. We had a big part of what I did was government affairs and building a government affairs team and making sure that the product, our main product, earned wage access, was and is something that continues to evolve in a positive, fashion in both the public eye and in the eye of government officials.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, it sounds like you really had a good time and you enjoyed it. What made you decide to return to private practice? I mean, it sounds like it was quite an adventure.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge adventure. I think, I'm a trained litigator, and that's how I grew up in my career. So the shift from going from litigation to a non-litigation role wasn't quite as jarring as I thought it might be, but I did miss it. And I realized that most dramatically when I was in the process of writing a huge comment letter to the state of California, the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, on its rulemaking with respect to earned wage access. And that comment letter was more than 50 pages, single space. It was like a massive brief. And I realized, that this is the most engaged and sort of strategic I've been in a while, and it's something that I miss putting into practice every day. Really getting to do persuasive writing, some legal research, of course, and I think I realized that's really where I excel the most and where I can add the most value. And so, having built a big part of the playbook for not only Pay Active, but the industry in general, and having worked with colleagues at other companies, I realized that I could do a lot more for other clients in the same space and in a similar industry, and getting to exercise those skills in a broader context.
Interesting. So is your practice that you're trying to develop now, is it different than the one you had before you went in-house, or it's largely the same?
Both. I mean, I'm doing a mix of litigation that I was doing previously, so class action defense, commercial litigation, but also a lot of regulatory compliance work, advice and counsel. I was the main product counsel for Pay Active for many years, so very accustomed to helping the product teams design new products and features in compliance with regulatory requirements. So I've gotten much more of a regulatory attorney than I was, and have a big focus on that now. So I feel like I can act somewhat as outside general counsel for a lot of fintechs, a lot of technology companies that need a variety of help with a variety of different things, and don't focus on only one area.
How do you think being in-house has helped you, advising clients now? I mean, do you feel like you have a very different view about the client's business now? What would you say?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, being able to really see it from the inside not only gives you some credibility because you've been in those shoes, but also enables you to really cut to the chase for general counsel and in-house counsel that are really busy. As I said at the beginning, anybody who's been in-house knows that you've got a variety of competing demands on your time, and you've got to figure out how best to use your time. There's almost always no shortage of work. And so, using outside counsel effectively can be a real asset. But that outside counsel needs to be able to add value and not create extra work for you. And so, I saw both, great outside counsels and some that would be long-winded, and some that were, hadn't seen the GC role before. And so, having been there is a huge, I think, benefit to really help you make your work effective for the client.
Yeah. How's it been coming back? Has it been fun? You enjoying it?
Yeah, enjoying it a lot. I'm sitting in the same office I had from 2017 to 2020. So it's almost like time has not passed, but of course 5 years has passed. So a little bit of a time warp. I'm back with, I'd say, 60% of the same people that I worked with previously, who I'm good friends with, and it's really like coming home, to be honest. It's been a very easy transition in that regard. Also a lot of great new faces at the firm, some new associates that I'm getting to work with, and gotten to do a lot of travel to different offices. So it's been great.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate your taking the time. Congratulations on all your success, and good luck with your new venture.
Thanks so much for having me.
This is Richard Hsu and Aaron Marienthal. Thanks.